From a dangerous kokamento powered squirt gun, to a literal fruit punch fountain, to a high pressure pneumatic launcher, here are my top 10 builds of 2021. And of course I saved the best for last. First up, I laser engraved a Spotify QR code onto a coaster. It's cool because you can link any song or playlist, but I naturally chose to rickroll you. Next, the kokamento squirt gun was super fun to make, but took 3 iterations to get just right. It uses the gas produced by the kokamento's reaction to create a high pressure chamber. I hastily skipped a safety step during the last iteration and it could have ended horribly. Luckily, after a few modifications, it worked great. I also 3D printed a penny board on a special infinite Z-axis 3D printer. It took over a day to print and rolled smoothly, but with only 10% infill it couldn't withstand much weight, even after I tried reinforcing it with wood. I one-upped David Dobrik by making a cooler version of his fruit punch fountain. Getting the liquid height for the bottom bottle was quite the challenge, but once I figured it out, it looks so nice. The fruit punch is pumped to the top and has the proper flow rate such that there's very little spillage in between bottles. I made a compressed air launcher out of PVC pipe and had a blast shooting candy with it. Even at 90 psi, shooting marshmallows was rather harmless, but that all changed when I switched from marshmallows to harder candies and I had to aim at a concrete wall. The slow motion results were undeniably cool, especially for the nerds and the frozen Skittles. I also created an unnecessary invention which allows me to fill up my water bottle without having to go downstairs, and thanks to you guys tagging him, he actually responded. Next, I made a smart mirror using an old cell phone and some two-way mirror film on a frame. This was just a prototype and would actually need a charging port to properly function, but the concept is pretty cool. And finally, this induction heater is my favorite build of 2021. I mean, how can you not be wowed by a device that heats metals to hundreds of degrees within seconds without the coil itself being hot? I had so much fun with this device this year that I made an entire episode on it, so go check that out later, but for now, let's move on to honorable mentions for the best builds. The first ever video I posted showed how to make a glow-in-the-dark canvas so that you can paint with the special UV light. The UV light charges the glow-in-the-dark paint, and it's a lot of fun to play around with. I used this old glass container and some tubing to demonstrate how adding just a little bit of water can cause a large amount of water to be drained, which is how toilets work. I love making things with LEDs, so I hopped onto the Squid Game's Halloween costume trend and made a mask, ruining the back of my chair in the process. Along with the tutorial for making this mask itself, I included a lesson that applies to all LED signs you might want to make. If that sounds interesting to you, then go check it out on YouTube. Someone asked me what's the coolest thing I've ever made, and it's probably this voice-activated paintball gun for quadriplegics, but I was only one of many team members working on it. For example, if the user said rapid fire, it would shoot the paintball gun 5 times, and it worked pretty consistently. Another cool thing I've made is this screwdriver, which I turned on a lathe in a manufacturing class. It might not seem like I'd ever use this, but it actually comes in handy quite often. I also made a simple lamp with some string lights in a glass bottle, and it was super fun to learn how to use glass drill bits, but if I'm being completely honest, it didn't make the list because it's not that cool overall. More in-depth videos for many of the builds you've seen in this episode are available on Snapchat or YouTube, so check them out if you're interested.